was just something inside of me that, like, I knew that he needed to hear that from me. Hey guys, it's your girl Cassie here, and as you can tell, I'm sadly by myself again. I know, it is crazy. I'm trying my best to hold down the fort, so I hope that you guys are hanging in there with me. And I'm going to try to make this episode a little interesting for you guys, because I'll be honest, it is still very weird, and it's very hard to try and record by yourself without a co-host. You have no one to bounce things off with. So I'm really just trying here, and hopefully you guys are enjoying just hearing me kind of like ramble on about things. And let me just start off by saying that it is fucking hot. I don't know where you guys are listening in from, but here in New York, we are experiencing a heat wave this week, and it is just absurd. And as you can even see, for those that are tuning in via video, I'm getting my little curls are popping out and everything. It's just too hot up here. I just can't deal. But I do enjoy it a hell of a lot more than wintertime. So if you're like me, it sucks, but it's a lot better than being cold. So anyways, I'm doing fine. Amanda is still doing okay. She will be back with us soon, don't you worry. But until then, you guys are going to have to just deal with me, and Amanda will give her update when she is ready to come back. And so I figured I would start off this week's episode with kind of like recapping what we went over last week, and how I brought up the two different scenarios with this nurse that went viral, and then also with Lauren London sharing her interview, and how she's been grieving since losing Nipsey Hussle. And so I got some pretty interesting responses from you guys. Thank you for everyone who had reached out and interacted with me. I really do appreciate it. I'm very surprised, I guess, by the comments I got in regards to the nurse's video that went viral, because a lot of you guys thought that what she did was wrong, and I shouldn't be too surprised, because that's why she went viral in the first place. It's because there are so many people that thought what she did was wrong. I'm still a little bit on the fence about it, but you guys seem to be completely on board with everybody and saying that it was wrong. So for those who are in that field or experience similar situations and would think of doing something like that, you might want to think twice about it, because clearly it's not a favorable thing to do. And I do get it. I'm not completely like, you know, like brainwashed or whatever you want to call it. I do understand. I know that it can come across as being insensitive and things like that. But, you know, we all have our own opinions, and TikTok and these things is getting way out of hand these days, to where people are literally doing anything just to go viral. Don't really understand it necessarily, but if you're getting paid for it, then, you know, why not? But anywho, thank you for everyone who kind of let me know your thoughts about that. And then on the other hand, the Lauren London interview, it seems like all of us grievers are kind of on the same page in the fact that we all believe that we have experienced some type of memory loss when it comes to losing a loved one and just dealing with that grief. So shout out to Lauren London for doing the interview in the first place. I know that wasn't easy, and providing that perspective, because for me, it's not something I thought about. I talked to Amanda about it after the fact, and it's not something that she normally thought about either, but she did say that she feels like she experienced memory loss as well, in addition to the people that kind of like responded to the stories that I posted on our Instagram page. So very interesting. And it really just kind of makes sense, because whenever you go through a traumatic event, I feel like the human body's response is just to completely like forget about it. Like, our defense mechanism is to just block out whatever that traumatic event was and forget about it. For the most part, some people, you know, don't operate that way, but I would say a lot of people do, and that's kind of like the relation that I'm seeing between grief and memory loss and things like that, because it is such a traumatic event. So, you know, we just got to figure out how to keep it pushing and do our best to, you know, remember things that we should be remembering, and just keep it going from there. So, so thank you guys to everyone that listened to the last episode and providing your feedback again. It is super appreciated. And I am just like kind of rambling because what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is something that is very hard for me to talk about, and I made sure that I was alone to record this podcast, because speaking on things by myself, as you guys may have got from listening to our episodes in the past, is a lot different for me than when speaking to somebody else about something, because I don't feel the same need to, I guess, like, be strong or like not pretend, but like protect my feelings and not, you know, get emotional or things like that. And I know that I am talking to an audience, but it's different because I'm by myself. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's not something that I even talk about with anybody. I just kind of like roll with the punches, and so I'm just gonna get right into it, and we're just gonna take it from there and see what happens. So by the time this episode drops, it wouldn't have happened yet, but this coming weekend is going to be my dad's anniversary date, and it will officially mark 5 years since I lost him. That is kind of like a huge milestone to me, just because, you know, that first year you don't really understand anything that's like happening, and you're kind of just living in like a fuzzy like picture screen, is kind of like how I look at it, thinking back to things, because I couldn't tell you what happened that year. But every year since, it's just kind of like, okay, like, this is just like another one, and, you know, this is sad, and it's another one. But now to be 5 years into it is a little crazy to me, because it doesn't feel like that at all. Like, I remember everything for the most part, just so vividly leading up until that day. And it's even hard being on Facebook and seeing like all these memories pop up, and, you know, things that like I was thinking or things that I was saying leading up until the day that he actually left. And I was so like hopeful and enthusiastic, and I would post things about him, and I would just rave about how amazing he is, and, you know, always appreciate things that you have, and take those vacations and do those things that you might not necessarily care to do right away. But I really just can't stress how important it is, because you never really know how much time you have left. And when I look back at it, that's just more true than ever, because I had no idea what was coming in the days ahead. And I don't allow myself to think about it a lot or really look back and reflect, just because I'm not really sure how I'm going to react. But I just remember going to the hospital that day, because I hadn't been there in like a week, because I had to go back to work, and it was like we knew it was coming, but we just didn't know when, like a few weeks like before it actually happened. And so I was like, you know, I was at the hospital enough to where I knew that I shouldn't, and I also couldn't continue to be in the hospital every single day, day in and day out, because it wasn't good for me mentally, and I still had to figure out how to like function in normal society as well. So I did take some time apart from being in the hospital, but then that one day on July 30th, I just kind of like woke up that day, and I just felt a need that I had to go to the hospital, because I was a little, this might sound like weird to like say, but I was a little surprised by that time to know that like he was still here and that I hadn't been there in a while, because at first I was really hoping that he would have done it when I wasn't there, and I would have just like got the phone call. But when that didn't happen and I was off, so it happened on a Sunday. So I didn't go there on Saturday. I just woke up on Sunday and was like, I just need to go to the hospital. So long story short, because I could, probably talk about it like literally like minute by minute. But I went to the hospital. I went to go see him, and he, wasn't responsive or anything like that. He was still breathing, and I knew how they always say that like they can still hear you. So I really just went there just to have a conversation with him, to hold his hand, to let him know that that I was still here. And they had even brought up an extra bed because my mom was sleeping next to him for a few weeks, and I laid next to him, and I just tried to enjoy like the last moments that like I had with him. And I had a weird feeling that I needed to let him know that that I was gonna be okay, and that it was fine for him to finally let go, because I didn't want him to suffer anymore. And it feels kind of like weird to like think and say, but like there was just something inside of me that like I knew that he needed to hear that from me. And so my main purpose was to go there and let him know that I was gonna be okay. Even though it didn't feel like it in the moment, and it still doesn't now. So shortly after that, I met up with Amanda, because unfortunately her mom was also in the hospital. And I remember we were talking in the hallway for, which to me it seemed like forever, but it probably was only like 20 minutes. But I was just kind of like, Amanda, like I love you, I love your mom, but like I just need to go be with my dad. So she went back with me to his room, and we just kind of like sat there and we talked more. It made me feel more comfortable because I was in the room with him, even though I wasn't really like talking to him, I was talking to her. But then I felt bad because I was taking her away from her mom. But Amanda, I know you're going to be listening to this, so as you know, I just can't thank you enough for being there that day. Jeez, this is all coming out of nowhere, huh? Sorry, guys. And he just, I don't remember if he like made a noise or he started breathing like really weird. And I remember me and Amanda just like kind of like looked over at him just to, make sure he was like okay. And the nurse came in, and he had like all this like gunk in his mouth, and so we were like, can you brush his teeth and clean him up a little bit. And then before the nurse even was able to come back into the room, my dad started taking less breaths, and then we looked over at him, and then he just gave off like the biggest smile and took his last breath, and then like that was it. And then I looked at Amanda and I was like, did that just happen? I was like, what I think just happened, I'm like, did that really just happen just now? And that's pretty much how it happened 5 years ago in a couple of days. And didn't really think I was going to get into it into detail like that, but this this couple of days is going to be his 5-year anniversary, and per usual, I'm going to go visit him. It's something that I do every single year. I don't care if I'm working or what I'm doing. There will never be a time where I won't make it a priority to go see him on the actual anniversary day. That's something that's very important to me, and I think it's helpful too. They talk about different things that you can do for like anniversaries and things, and going to visit them is one thing that you can do. Talking to somebody about it is something else that you can do. Or doing something in their honor that that they enjoyed doing, like starting a fundraiser or putting together like an event with like family or something like that, just to kind of like celebrate them and to remember them by, are some good things that you can kind of do for these anniversaries. I'm not doing anything extra aside from going to see him, just because it's his 5 years. And I don't know, I just think it's going to be not really on my end, because again, I'm going to be going with people, and clearly you guys have never seen me get this emotional when I've been talking to Amanda. So it's something that I do in private, even though I know I'm recording myself right now. But I just feel like it's going to be kind of like an emotional one, just because it is 5 years. So that's kind of like a big milestone in a bad way. It's not something you ever want to experience. But yeah, so this one will be tough. I kind of can't wait for it to be over, just because it's not something that I like to think about. And yeah, so this is another death anniversary episode for you guys, because mine is coming up. I know that we talked about Amanda's a few weeks ago when hers was here, and I felt like it was only appropriate for me to talk about it. Maybe I'll touch base on it again in the following episode after it happened, to let you guys know, how it went. But for now, I'm just kind of trying to like process everything by myself while I can. Because again, it's not something that I like to do in front of others, and I know it's always really tough on my mom and things. And so I try not to, just because I feel like you can't have like two weak people in a room together. You need someone to be the strong one. So that's what I plan on doing. So hopefully this episode will be a good kind of like therapy session for me, since I don't go to therapy. And yeah, I don't really think I have anything else to say. I feel like I've kind of, dropped a few things in here for you guys, and I hope that it reaches someone who, I don't know, maybe benefits from hearing what I've been through. I went through it kind of quickly, but it was just kind of like a weird like bond that me and my dad had, and it was just very odd that the day that I went there to go tell him these things is the day that he, decided to leave. And he was in there for a couple of weeks, so I don't know. I think that's just the way that it was supposed to happen for some weird reason, as much as I wanted him to do it without me there. But I guess that wasn't the case, and so I'm not mad about it. I'm actually really glad and kind of grateful that I was there. I don't know how I would have done if I just got a phone call. So anyways, I'm going to stop going back and forth and talking about it, because at this point, oh, see? And there goes the voice. And Amanda's going to laugh at that, because every time my voice goes weird, she always says something about it. And of course, it's when I'm talking about him. So I know that he's up there fucking saying some shit, probably. But anyways, so I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Hopefully, again, you guys aren't tired of it just being me here, but this is Mindset Talks podcast, and I'm trying to keep it up and running. So make sure you guys go and like and subscribe on everything. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we're on YouTube. So don't forget. And you can catch us on all of your favorite podcast platforms, such as Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. So go ahead and check us out. Oh yeah. Hit that beautiful subscribe button. Leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. Write into us. Let us know what kind of things that you guys might want to hear in the future. And it would just be appreciated, so that way we can always create some lovely content for you guys and keep this going, because it's not everybody in their 20s that loses a parent. So we are all here together to help each other out. Me and Amanda are always here to help you, and that's even now to this day, even though she's not recording with me. We are both here So please don't hesitate to reach into us. We love you guys. We appreciate the support, and we'll talk to you guys next time. See you later.